one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm sure all of you are aware of this, but this is a public meeting. It's being recorded and will be posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. Anything that's said in this meeting is part of public record. Since the last time we met as a board, I believe there was only one chance that Commissioner Eggleston and I had to, we were together. It was not an executive session, informational only. That was a meeting with the Department of Environmental Protection on the 6th with Mr. Glotz. We were discussing the landfill closure. Or rather, they were more discussing with us. I wouldn't say that we really gave any feedback.
And I just wanted to mention, I don't recall that meeting being on my calendar.
I don't even remember how that came about. You set it up and you announced it in the work session, and I said I wanted to go, so that would have been your chance, I guess. It's not that he invited us, it's that he announced that he was going. I asked to tag along. Any other executive sessions that I was not a part of or meetings? Hearing none.
There was a meeting Jeff and I attended with PennDOT and Stifler McGraw. Last week.
It was Monday, March 10 a.m.
Okay, so that was March 4th. Thank you. Correspondence since the last meeting. First of all, there was a letter that was sent to me at the request of the sender. He asked that I bring it up at the meeting and discuss it with you. This is by Randy Santucci. The letter is in regards to the prospective change in the law allowing for Sunday hunting. He's very much opposed and says that there are disadvantages that we need to take into consideration. Obviously that is not a county decision, but I believe he is asking that we advocate with our state legislators in opposition to Sunday hunting. I will leave that letter here for your review. We also had a request from from the Clothesline Project. That was in regard to posting up artwork by sexual assault victims, and I believe they're talking about putting those paintings in the front foyer of the courtroom, or excuse me, of the courthouse. No objections from the commissioners on that?
I gave him my consent.
Okay, it's unanimous.
The only comment I made was just to double check with the courts that they were okay using that space, just because.
Which I have, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. We also received a note from the district attorney's office about Ben Roethlisberger financing the K-9, which was very welcome note, and that was already in the paper. We were also noted that the early intervention program phase 2 application was accepted, and we were awarded an initial tranche. Is that correct? Very good. And last thing, Ronna Tipton emailed the three of us about managed care decision that she wanted our feedback on. I thought this might be a good chance to get that feedback.
Currently, our system for delivery of mental health services works through a managed care organization, which ours is Community Care Behavioral Health. That contract ends in 2020, and we have started the reprocurement process for the next contract. We are in a consortium of 23 counties that work with the Behavioral Health Alliance of Rural Pennsylvania and Community Care and OMSOS, the mental health level of the state, to administer these services. The 23 counties make up the executive board of the Behavioral Health Alliance, and they have voted on accepting what's called the first right of opportunity, where the counties will directly contract with the state to administer these services. And my question back to the commissioners was, is there any concern on your part that we go with that option? The other two options place the counties at financial risk for any underfunded services offered in the 23 counties. So the board voted to go with the option that does not provide a financial risk to the counties.
That sounded good to me.
Same here. Commissioner Morrison?
Thank you.
All right. You have a unanimous decision here. There's no cause for public hearing. Excuse me. Is there anything else that the commissioners wish to raise from the correspondence? There's no cause for public hearing. At this time, I would open it up for public comment. As you may know, we are very open to comments, and most local governments just have the public comment period once, but we allow public comment period on every voting item, and therefore I would ask that if you have anything to raise before the board that it would not pertain to the repository tax bid, Superior Tire tax appeal settlement, children and youth services contracts, GIS information sharing, housing authority appointments, and an autopsy agreement with Erie County Coroner. Is there anything other than those topics that you would like to comment on? Hearing none. Consent agenda today includes the things that I just listed, as well as several proclamations. I'd like to read the National County Government Month. Commissioner Morrison, would you be so kind as to read the 811 safe digging and Parkinson's? One of you has a relationship with someone with Parkinson's.
Parkinson's.
That's you, okay. Public Defense Week, I would like to read that, but if someone else would like to, that'd be fine as well.
I'd like to read that.
Okay. Sunshine Week is one that I'm bringing to the table, and Commissioner Eggleston is bringing Earth Day and Autism Awareness. Anything else that I'm missing from the agenda? Very good. Minutes from the February 27th meeting.
Could I have a minute to review these, please? Reviewed what I needed to re-review. Thank you.
Any comments or amendments? No. Very good. Fiscal reports.
There's one slight change to the finance report, and that's just we had some additional revenue come in yesterday, so after I gave this out. So the balance in the general fund is about $1,024,000. Erie Bank's the same, 637. And we did take, as you know, the first 500 for the TAN, which is right in line with previous years in terms of time frame. We did the same last year, it was about the same time.
Okay. So yeah, TAN's about the same, and although it currently looks like the general fund is down 29% from where it was last year, it's not when you consider that $250,000.
Yeah, another $250,000 in there.
It's almost the same.
Right, it's roughly the same. Correct.
The other challenge with those reports is that they're a week snapshot in a month, and if our expenses go out that week, it can look like it's less than that. So.
Okay.
When did you arrive at that figure, 1.2 million, or 24 million?
This morning, I just checked the balance of the treasurer this morning.
Any other questions for the fiscal director? Proclamations. First one is National County Government Month. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 300 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas the counties provide health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. And whereas Warren County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas, through National Association of Counties President Greg Cox's Connecting the Unconnected initiative, NACO is demonstrating how counties deliver people-centered services to our residents nationwide. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Warren County has begun preparations for its bicentennial in 2019 and has served thousands of residents with countless services over its rich history in the last 200 years, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Warren County Commissioners, proclaim April 2019 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Adopted today.
Proclamation, Pennsylvania. Oh, I'm sorry. Is
I
there
was just going
comment?
to say, is there any comment from the board? I just wanted to briefly say how much I appreciate all of the county employees, human services, the Department of Public Safety here at the courthouse, and the ancillary courtrooms. I have been very proud over the last year to have all the kind comments that have come in about how helpful staff has been. I think that has definitely increased since we first took office, and I can't necessarily put my finger on why, but I have gotten a lot more calls lately that are proclaiming the virtues of our employees than the other way around, and that has been a very refreshing thing to hear. Thank you all. Any other comments?
I have nothing to add.
811.
Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month. Whereas as engineers, designers, excavators, and homeowners work to keep pace with this Commonwealth's unprecedented economic development, it is important to minimize damage to underground utility lines, danger to workers, environmental pollution, and loss of utility service to Pennsylvania citizens. And whereas the Pennsylvania One Call System, a utility service information center celebrating its 47th year of continuous service to the Commonwealth, is key to preventing injuries and damage when excavating. And whereas this unique service provides easy one-call notification about construction and excavation projects, which may endanger workers and jeopardize utility lines, while promoting workplace and public safety, reducing underground utility damage, minimizing utility service interruptions, and protecting the environment. And whereas this vital service, which began with only 6 utility companies in western Pennsylvania and the city of Pittsburgh, now serves more than 100,000 excavators and 3,600 critical infrastructure owners throughout this Commonwealth. And whereas each year, the Pennsylvania One Call System receives more than 750,000 notification requests and transmits more than 6 million notifications, providing protection to utility companies, their employees, and customers. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Warren County Commissioners designate the month of April 2019 as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month, to encourage all excavators and homeowners of Warren County to dial 811 or 1-800-242-1776 at least 3 business days before digging in order to know what's above or what's below, avoid injury, protect the environment, and prevent millions of dollars in damages, and to remind excavators that 3 business days notice is the law for safe digging, so no accident, and that more information may be obtained by visiting www.pa811.org, adopted this 13th day of March. I have no further comments.
Good. Next is on Parkinson's.
Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a progressive disorder of the central nervous system affecting more than 1.5 million people in the United States, and whereas the American Parkinson's Disease Association has sought to ease the burden and find the cure. Through research, patient and family services, education, and sponsorship of 45 chapters, 55 information and referral centers, and more than 1,000 support groups throughout the United States. And whereas the world, the nation, and the County of Warren observe Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month during April 2018. Whereas the County of Warren recognizes the efforts of the Warren Parkinson's Disease Support Group to raise funds and promote awareness to fight Parkinson's disease, thereby improving the quality of life for those living with this disorder and this disease. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, in honor of those who work with the American Parkinson's Disease Association Incorporated, and their value to our residents, do hereby proclaim April 2018 to be Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month in the County of Warren, adopted this 13th day of March 2019. And I would just like to briefly say that I have several friends that are afflicted with this Parkinson's disease, and it is such a debilitating disease, and we need to do all we can as a community to support any groups that help to promote awareness and bring a cure to this awful disease. It's really insidious, and what it does to a person's body is just unbelievable and very sad. So I pray for my friends daily.
Any other comments?
Recognition of public defenders and public defender professionals' essential role in building effective criminal justice systems. This proclamation affirms both the legal principle and practical value of equal access to justice for every individual regardless of income. Whereas the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution was introduced in 1789 as part of the Bill of Rights, it guarantees those accused of crimes the right to a speedy and public trial, an impartial jury, to be informed of the accusation they face, to confront witnesses, and have the assistance of defense counsel. And whereas California was the first state to establish and publicly fund a public defender's office in 1914, and later expanded it as a state-authorized institution in 1921. And whereas Clarence Earl Gideon was charged with breaking into a Florida pool room on June 3rd, 1961, and stealing coins from a cigarette machine, he asserted his innocence. Whereas Gideon submitted a handwritten petition to the United States Supreme Court from his prison cell, arguing that the United States Constitution does not allow poor people to be convicted and sent to prison without legal representation. Whereas on March 18, 1963, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that Gideon's trial and conviction without the assistance of an attorney was fundamentally unfair and violated the 6th and the 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. It is an obvious truth, the court stated, that in our adversary system of criminal justice, any person hauled into court who is too poor to hire a lawyer cannot be assured a fair trial unless counsel is provided for him. Whereas at his retrial on August 5th of 1964, with the constitutionally guaranteed assistance of an attorney, Clarence Earl Gideon was found innocent of all the charges against him. Therefore, be it resolved, March 17th through the 23rd of 2019 as Public Defense Week in Warren County, and commend our public attorneys who continue to fulfill the constitutional promise of the Bill of Rights, adopted this 13th day of March 2019. I just want to say a few words. We have a fabulous public defender who does an outstanding job for everyone that we just described in this proclamation. And you do a phenomenal job. You've been here for so many years, and we commend your efforts to pursue justice on behalf of these citizens.
Thank you.
And thank you for your wonderful team. You do a phenomenal job for Warren County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just also thank you for the work that you do. You do it well and you do it with style, and I think that's there's something to be said about that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
For myself, every year I'm struck by how recent public defender movement, if you would, is. Because it seems to be a hallmark, really, of American jurisprudence. And it strikes me that it's less than a century old. It's just interesting to me because It reminds me that this union is imperfect and that we're gradually and continually reforming it to be something better. Something that I would argue the Founding Fathers envisioned, but did not necessarily live up to completely. That reminds me of, for instance, this is the centennial of the 19th Amendment, and this court case is less than a century old. This is an imperfect union that is the best thing God's given us on earth, but there's still room for improvement.
I have to laugh when he says this is less than a century old. It's 2 years away from my date of birth, so I would hope it's a little less than a century.
I meant 1921.
Oh, page 63.
Okay, the next is, I'm sorry, does the Public Defender's Office have anything to say?
No, just thank you for all the help that the commissioners have given me throughout the years in terms of staffing and funding for all the things I need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sunshine Week. Whereas James Madison, the father of our federal constitution, wrote that consent of the governed requires that the people be able to arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives. And whereas every citizen in our participatory democracy has an inherent right to access to government meetings and public records. And whereas an open and accessible government is vital to establishing and maintaining the people's trust and confidence in their government and in the government's ability to effectively serve its citizens, and whereas the protection of every person's right of access to public records and government meetings is a high priority of Warren County Commissioners, and whereas the Warren County Commissioners are committed to openness and transparency in all aspects of its operation and seeks to set a standard in this regard. Now therefore, the Warren County Commissioners commit during this Sunshine Week, March 10th through the 16th, commemorating the anniversary of James Madison's birth, and throughout the year, work diligently to enhance the public's access to government records and information, to increase information provided electronically and online, and to ensure that all meetings of deliberative bodies under its jurisdiction and their committees are fully noticed and open to the public. The main reason that I brought this proclamation before us today, besides the fact that it is Sunshine Week, is because the League of Women Voters is having an event at the Department of Public Safety. That's tomorrow at 1:30 in Youngsville. And I believe it is open to the public, and all are welcome to attend. The District Attorney's Office will be sending a representative. The Public Defender wanted to come. I'm sure that would be fantastic as well. The Sheriff's Office is coming, and I am as well. So I'll be kicking it off at 1:30 and turning it over to the DA and the Sheriff, and then we'll be touring the 911 Center. I think, I've read all the Federalist Papers and Anti-Federalist Papers and such, and I think although sunshine is a word that is not in the vocabulary of the Founding Fathers necessarily, it certainly is a principle that both sides, Anti-Federalists and Federalists, could agree to. And it's a fundamental principle of American political philosophy and thought that's riddled throughout all the founding documents. And I want to applaud Pam Natby, our Right to Know officer, and Commissioner Eggleston as well for being sure to get as much of our meetings online and accessible to anyone in the public as possible. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you, Professor.
Any other comments on that one? Commissioner Eggleston on Earth Day.
Earth Day, April 22nd, 2019. Whereas the first Earth Day was enacted in 1970 and engaged over 20 million Americans to advocate for a cleaner environment, and Earth Day now has become a worldwide event and has highlighted some of the most critical environmental issues on the world stage. And Pennsylvania's Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Department of Agriculture, Department of Transportation, Fish and Boat Commission, and Game Commission have an enormous responsibility to the citizens of the Commonwealth and work year-round to ensure Pennsylvania's water, air, and land are protected. And Pennsylvania is blessed with a wealth of bountiful woodlands and waterways, often most visibly showcased in our 121 state parks and more than 2.2 million acres of state forests and other public lands that are in enrich the lives of both residents and visitors alike, providing irreplaceable habitat for countless flora and fauna, sustainable natural resources, and many scenic recreational opportunities. Pennsylvania's Commonwealth agencies challenge every resident of the Commonwealth to help in the conserving and protecting the environment via green activities such as recycling, water and energy conservation, tree planting, and active education about environmental issues. And Pennsylvania supports projects that demonstrate and encourage energy conservation, sustainability, and the usage of renewable energy. And special Earth Day events are offered throughout the Commonwealth to encourage residents to identify what they can personally do to protect the environment and make Pennsylvania a cleaner and greener state. And there will be an environmental expo at the Warren Public Library on April 22nd in celebration of Earth Day, and will include representatives from DEP, the Commissioner's Office, and other local businesses and agencies to discuss environmental stewardship. Therefore, in special recognition of the efforts and dedication of the Commonwealth's state agencies, as well as our local agencies and volunteers, we, the Board of Warren County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2019 as Earth Day. We encourage all citizens to become engaged in their local community and join efforts to help maintain and improve Pennsylvania's urban and rural environments. Adopted on the 15th of March. I introduced this as a part of the event that we have a flyer for. It's just a save the date flyer outside. We're having an environmental expo on the 22nd, which is Earth Day, and it'll be an all-day event at the Warren Public Library. There'll be people from DEP there having an open discussion. Folks from Allegheny Outfitters talking about the rivers. We'll have a conversation about the comprehensive recycling program. There'll be food and refreshments and other things. It should be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in clean air, clean water, and support those types of initiatives, I encourage you to attend some point during the day.
For my part, I do support this proclamation, despite the fact that sometimes I think those departments listed may be a little bit overzealous. That said, I think conservatives do not often take seriously enough the task of stewardship as caretakers of the environment. At the same time, the caveat that I wanted to lodge with this proclamation is simply to say that the earth is given to us with great God-given resources and for our use. And so I think that there is a balance between using it in a way that a caretaker would, completely bending over backwards, excessively hampering economic development to protect said environment.
We'll take it.
Next is autism.
Autism Awareness Month for April 2019. Whereas autism can affect anyone regardless of race, religion, socioeconomic status, or geography, and the prevalence of autism in the United States is 1 in 68 children. And autism affects more than 3 million people in the United States, and more than 55,000 children and adults with autism are receiving services in the Commonwealth. And children and adults with autism are our family members, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. And each individual with autism is unique, with talents and qualities such as exceptional focus and dedication. And individuals with autism benefit from specialized services and community support to ensure their health and safety, and full participation in community life, such as Forest Warren Human Services Early Intervention and Intellectual Disabilities programs. And individuals with autism, families, professionals, and community members are supported through connections with others and the sharing of resources. And the resilience of families and individuals with autism is strengthened through support. We value what is important to people with autism and their families who are striving to live everyday lives. And positive outcomes increase for individuals with autism when training is provided to professionals across all systems, including those in justice, healthcare, emergency response, and emergency response settings. And the aims for Autism Acceptance Month, that should be Autism Awareness Month, are to inform the general public about both the potential and needs of people with autism and to stress the importance of early diagnosis and early intervention, as well as the importance of providing appropriate supports that continue through adulthood. Therefore, in recognition of Pennsylvania's diagnosis with autism and their families, we, the Board of Warren County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Autism Awareness Month. We encourage all Pennsylvanians to provide their support in furthering awareness about autism. This 13th day of March adopted. So obviously, like, this is something that I talk about a lot. I have 2 children with autism, and obviously me and my wife are involved heavily in a lot of the autism awareness events and stuff. The big reason I think that this is important is that autism is far more prevalent than people realize, and there are a lot of people who hold off having their kids tested because they're afraid of them being labeled. And just because you're tested doesn't mean you're going to get labeled, first of all. And second of all, there are some amazing things, and I have personal first-hand experience that these folks can do that even if your kid doesn't have autism, that can help your child develop faster than they would normally. I personally feel that the early intervention program basically, on some level, saved my son's life in the sense that his development accelerated pretty dramatically after being involved with it. And so his ability to speak, his ability to interact was much increased. If I had held off, if I had not gotten him tested, who knows, he would have been 8 or 9 and maybe he'd still be nonverbal. And now he can have a chance at a really fully fulfilled life because of those supports. And nobody should be afraid of having their child tested. They just should, because you find out things that will help your child grow. So that's my 2 cents.
Commissioner Morrison?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Did anyone want to say anything?
Lakeshore Community Services, represented by Carl Seeker today, last year started an annual day of autism awareness. This year he's partnered more with the Developmental Disabilities Program, Tammy Shippey, at Human Services, along with other agencies in the counties. And the second annual, can I say that? The second annual Autism Awareness Day is April 2nd from 11 to 6 at the Days Inn here in Warren. They will have speakers, food, and approximately 10 vendors will be coming in to provide education to families, and it's open. So again, April 2nd.
This time I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, the fiscal report, and the proclamations as read.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Any more public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There's no old business on the agenda. The first thing on the new business items is a repository tax bid. This is tax parcel CY 33622380000, currently owned by John Ludgren. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. And that is a half acre in Bear Lake Borough. The assessed value is $1,100. Bid amount by AMP Land Investments is $250. Does the tax claim director wish to say anything? Any questions? I hear a motion to approve the bid.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Any public comment? All those in favor of the bid, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agreement, or the list, is settlement agreement with Superior Tire. I would ask if the assessment director wishes to say anything.
I don't. I feel that the settlement's fair for what they agreed to settle on.
Very good. Does everyone have a chance to review it? If so, I hear a motion to approve the settlement agreement with Superior Tire.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion from the board. Public comment? Motion was to accept the Superior Tire tax appeal settlement. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Motion carries. Next on the agenda is an agreement with the Northwest Commission regarding information sharing of GIS data for a petrochemical study. That said, it's not, as I said in the Monday meeting, it was not finished in time, so the solicitor is still reviewing that document, so I would ask, oh, I'm sorry, well, I'm still talking about it, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the, to table discussion related to the Northwest Commission GIS.
You missed.
I know, I'm going back to it, that's why I asked you
So
to just
moved.
table it. Second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, back to the CYS contracts. Simon has some clarification. To review them?
The list of contractors remains the same, except we removed Wagner Associates from last year. We're not using that service anymore. We haven't used her for several years, and she has moved her facility up to Erie, so it's no longer as easily accessible as it was before. She provided diagnostic and counseling services for some of the juvenile sex offenders that we serve. We still contract with Project Point of Light to do that service. So we do have a service in the county that we contract for that service. We also added Alan Kahn Esquire to be a guardian ad litem. We had only had 2 guardian ad litems in the past, and we ran into a conflict, and we found that it would be best if we had an extra guardian. And we also added Redwood Toxology for non-testing of our drug screens in case we need to send any of the screens that we do in-house out for further testing.
Good, thank you. Any questions?
Those are the only additions?
Those 2 are the only 2 additions that we have.
Okay, and who was removed?
It was Wagner and Associates.
And because of the Erie affiliation.
Because of the distance and the fact that we had not used her service in a couple of years.
This is a big pile of contracts, so I'll just list them all briefly. An agreement with 311 Liberty Law, Acadia Healthcare Company, Alan Kahn, Lasky and Bush, the Banco International Upgrades, the Banco International, the Banco Consulting, the Vera Foundation of Pennsylvania, Barbara Litton, Bethesda, Children's Home Lutheran Social Services, Children's Center for Treatment and Education, DBA Beacon Lane, Children's Center for Treatment and Education, Cornell Braxis, Cynthia Kanowski, Dr. Peter von Korf, Erie County Office of Children and Youth, George Junior Republic of Pennsylvania, Harbor Creek Youth Services, Hermitage House Youth Services, Keystone Adolescent Center, Pathways Adolescent Center, Perseus House, Project Point of Light, DBA, Nanotherapeutic Services, Redwood Toxicology, and Warren County Children's Advocacy Center. If there are no more questions for narrative, I'd ask for a motion to approve all those contracts.
So moved.
One second. Excuse me. Any public comment? The motion was to approve the contracts as listed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda would be an appointment to the Housing Authority. We have a letter here from Tanya Mitchell-Weston, CEO of the Housing Authority. That's what we just did. Because I don't have it here. That's just the same. Respectfully requesting that we appoint Mrs. Michelle Alaski to the Housing Authority Board. She's been a member of the Warren County community for over 10 years and has extensive experience in areas that would support the authority very well. Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve Michelle Alaski's appointment to the Housing Authority Board?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Public comment?
I very much recommend Attorney Alaski. Just wanted to know.
Thank you. Motion is to approve Michelle Alaski to the Housing Authority. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Agreement with Lyell Cook, that is the county coroner of Erie. Every year we pass an agreement for autopsies that the Warren County Coroner's Office cannot perform, instead have to send them to Erie. There is an increase this year to $1,100. Retainer, Erie County for coroner services is $3,500 and the district attorney is $1,500. Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the agreement with the coroner's office of Erie?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Any public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The last item on new business on the agenda, now we have a personnel transaction report. Since the last time we met, Randy Haley started in the maintenance department as a part-time specialist at $12.50 an hour. He started on the 6th. Kim Lockerby started in the jail as a part-time corrections officer, moved from a part-time corrections officer to a full-time corrections officer, effective 25th of February. And Brian Martin left the jail from his position as a part-time correctional officer on the 7th. Any questions? May I hear a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
That was it on the agenda. Any commissioner comments? Last chance for public comment. May I hear a motion to adjourn?
So